only financial inputs and outputs, their investors get a dividend, and that the considerable administrative costs can be paid. It's reflect on the fact that in many Western developed countries, the average expenditure per dollar not spent on direct health care is about 5 cents, whereas in our country, 20 cents on the dollar goes to other costs. In many other countries around the world, the idea that health insurance would be run by a for-profit is unthinkable. They are often non-profits where the bottom line is covering all the medical bills. Someone in a back room was just waiting for the moment when my mother would make some mistake that would disqualify her from participating in her group insurance. We got the phone call. She had been out of work too many hours with me in the hospital to continue to qualify. She was the coordinator of the group, so they dissolved it and offered health insurance back to everyone else except for us. We were the only family dealing at the time with a catastrophic illness, the only ones who lost coverage, and the only ones who now had a pre-existing condition. Who are the robbers in the story? Remember the ones whose actions left the man or the woman lying in the road in the first place? The good news in our story for the robbers is that fingers can't really be pointed at one or two or even a gang of people. No one will be able to show up at some police station and identify exactly who perpetrated this crime. Way too many people are complicit in the events that have led to this place, to this spot on the road. The name of the villains could be summed up as our unwieldy, unfair healthcare system, but no one in the world could ever cram everyone involved into its cells. And this is a story about mercy and love, anyhow. This is a story about transformation, and I'll get to the Samaritan in a moment. Perhaps the man lying in the road, half dead, could also be considered to represent our healthcare system. The beauty of the parable is its ability to take on myriad interpretations. Or maybe the people who walked by, the priest and the Levite, could be considered to be the healthcare system. Insurance companies designed for profit rather than for paying hospital bills. Well-meaning voters and politicians who actually believe that the way things are represent the best it could ever be. People who have been fooled by rhetoric into thinking that every system outside of our country is socialized medicine, which is very untrue. Again, I commend that book, The Healing of America, to you. The systems outside of this country are hardly all socialized medicine. And our country has examples of socialized medicine within it. In fact, part of the problem is we've taken a little bit of every other healthcare system and made it into a big jumble. It's incredibly confusing. And when you go to the doctor, there's about 4 staff people to handle the complicated billing systems. So the VA is an example of socialized medicine here, and entrepreneurial doctors exist all over the world. It is not as simple as catchphrases will make it out to be in debates. Again, people are fooled into thinking that pretty much everybody who doesn't receive coverage doesn't deserve it, or that in a land which speaks so often of equality, that it isn't true. It can't be true, right? In the end, everyone receives help if they need it. And so they walk by, not realizing they're walking by, imagining that it is someone else's responsibility to care for this person. The image of a Samaritan stopping is arresting in a way that modern ears miss. Remember, the story is being told by a Jewish man, Jesus. We can also assume that the man lying in the road is probably Jewish. The Samaritans and the Jews are said to have hated one another. It is shocking, meant to help us see that the Samaritan will surprise you. It will be someone you least expect who will come over and give you aid, and that ultimately it is our call to include everyone as one of our neighbors. It is completely shocking, on the other hand, to see the most educated members of society and the most devout religionists walking by, the priest and the Levite. They don't even seem to notice the man in the road, while the Samaritan stops everything and gives his time and his resources to help the man in trouble. I am not here to advocate for any policy in particular, but I am here this morning to upset our expectations if they include the inertia of the status quo. I am asking each one of us to think and reflect, who are we in the story of the Good Samaritan? All of us will have opportunities, unfortunately, to be the one lying in the road. All of us will have opportunities to be the ones who have contributed to the man lying in the road. Each of us may accidentally or on purpose walk by, and each one of us has the power to change the story. We may not know the best way out of this road, and every country in the world complains about its healthcare system, no matter if they have to pay $10 to see a doctor or $1,000 to see a doctor. But what we do see when we look at other systems, they spend far less, that people live far longer, that they manage to care for everyone who needs care in their land, and that it is possible to reform. Even in France, they reform all the time. There is somewhere between where we are, complete inertia, acceptance of the status quo, and a revolution of the spirit, the invitation of the Samaritan to create a system of healing, a social justice sense in terms of a land where all people's rights are preserved to access medical care, and the other religious sense, the physical healing, where people who might be lying half dead in the road could genuinely be brought to life again in both senses of the word healing in terms of a religious vantage point. We can change our situation. We absolutely are just as smart as members of another society in the globe. The only difference, and this is what the prophets would say, I believe, if they were alive today, put people before prophets, F-I-T-S, as they have in every other society in the world. There are other ways to make money that do not include denying people the care they so desperately need. This is a moral issue for our time. This is the time that we need to reflect on who we are in the story and what can be done about it. It is the time for hope because we see that other countries have made the change. It is a time for something unexpected. A new Samaritan that will carve out a new way so that indeed justice might roll down like a mighty stream and envelop you and me. Will you rise?